Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of How to Be a Motivational Speaker, which is a part of the series Purpose, Passion, Power. It's a special series which I have started to help you, give you concrete steps to get ahead in your career as a motivational speaker, as a writer, or any career that you so have. So I am assuming that you have already watched episode 1, episode 2, episode 3 on how to be a motivational speaker. And if you have, then I'm honoring my promise of telling you about my 23-year journey as a motivational speaker. So if you want to establish a career in motivational speaking, my assumption is you have done all your homework as I had described from episode 1, 2 and 3. So I started my career as a motivational speaker when I was 23 years ago, so 45 minus 23 is 22. I started when I was 22 years old. Before that, I was teaching, so I actually started working very early. Started working from the age of 13. I was teaching my classmates, mainly French, and that grew into teaching a lot of other subjects, and then it grew into a full-fledged profession as a tuition teacher. And I think if the teacher is nice, if the teacher is kind, and if the teacher likes you, then you'll make the extra effort to study. So I didn't have to be very good at math, but my students were, because they were motivated, because they were cared for. And I feel as a motivational speaker also, even if you don't know everything, even if you don't know it all, it is providing that environment of comfort, that environment of validation, acknowledgement, creativity and empowerment for your audience that allows them to be the best that they can be. Whether you're good at that or not, but they would become better at it. So that as a teacher and a motivational speaker has continued as a foundation. So I was teaching for about 9-10 odd years, and Shahid Kapoor was my student, Hema Malini's children were my students. Well, that's just a way of, you have to put in these glamour factors in your profile. You have to tell who were the famous people, and a lot of people who studied under me became very big people and became famous. They've become very big businessmen now and so on. And even till date, when I go out somewhere, there would be this young man walking up to me with 2 children and say, "Oh, you used to teach me when I was in class." And his children are like, "How old are you then?" So well, I started early, that's why I arrived early. I moved into motivational speaking when I was 21-22 years old, and it was an exceptional journey. See, I had nothing. I did not do my major in psychology. I did not do human resource. I have never done a job, and yet I speak in a corporate setup, and I have done so for the past 23 years. So people told me all kinds of things. They said, "Priya, first you do a job. First learn how to talk. It's different talking to students." By the way, I taught 1900 students over the past 9-10 years. So they said talking to children, talking in a informal setup is different. Why would people twice your age listen to you? And by the way, when I started my career, the average age of the audience was 40 plus, and you're 21. That's daunting. You're 22. That's really, I mean, it can give stage fright to anybody. And my own people, my own family, my own relatives and friends told me, first do a job for maybe 5, 10, 20 years, and then when you have gained enough experience, then go and talk to people. Well, they don't know me. I don't listen to anybody. I hear everyone out, but I listen to my heart. And my heart was set on making a difference. I feel age is an excuse. Everything is an excuse. No experience is an excuse. Even if you have a message, even if you have a story that touched your heart and changed your life, go ahead and share it. You have my blessing. You do not need anybody's permission for that. So everyone told me against it and said, don't do it. कौन आएगा? इससे अच्छा जॉब कर लो, इससे अच्छा जाके MBA कर लो. Yeah, while those are great ideas, I said no. So what did it take? Like I told you, from episode 1 to 3, make great content. I practiced on oratory skills. I practiced on my communication skills. And as someone wrote in the comments, are you a self-trained speaker? Yes, I am a self-trained speaker. You know why? Because at that time there were no institutes, there were no training programs. There were just a handful of motivational speakers, and that was about it. So if I had to learn and study, it was a self-investment, and I loved it. Imagine your profession is about positivity. You have to read a great book and share it with people. Well, even if you didn't pay me, I would read a great book and share it with you. It's incidental that I get money for it. I would do it any which way, out of love, out of passion, and to make a property around it, I think is a blessing. So my content, my back-end work was very, very solid. I cannot tell you, I have boxes of books. I have donated thousands of books to libraries because we don't have place to keep it. You know, my father had a garage for the car. The car was never parked in the garage. There were only books, boxes. I got sinus because of that, because they would catch mites, especially in the rains, and I was always sneezing. Now I have Kindle, so thanks to that. But I read so much. I never had a laptop then. It was all handwritten notes, you know, and when you handwrite, you have to become very organized to find where it all is. It's not folders on the laptop and so on. So I made major investment in myself. There were no CDs then. We used to have those tapes. I used to order tapes from America, from UK, from Australia, wherever I would find that it's a good speaker. And by the way, we didn't have YouTube to see if the speaker was really good. I heard about the person, I read the person's book, I ordered the material. And you know, we used to have those Walkmen where I used to listen, and then if the Walkman would get spoiled, my $500 tape would be out, and then I would be fixing it. So I'm also a mechanic on the side where I'm fixing my Walkman, fixing my tapes and so on, just to see that this prized collection can come to use to help me establish my career. So it's been a fun journey. I have so much data with me. I can write 1,000 books with it. So anyways, my preparation was solid. Then came building a platform, and I went to ask people for help and said, can you endorse me, can you introduce me? And you know, when you are small, when you're a nobody, and when you have no business being a motivational speaker, nobody supports you, even your own people. One of my uncles, he's a very famous guy. A lot of my uncles are famous, so I won't tell you which one. So he's a very famous guy, and I told him, you know, I won't say the name, but I said, could you introduce me? He said, so you will speak. And I said, yeah. I was so excited because, and where did the excitement come from? It came from the content that I had. It came from the growth, the change that I had seen in myself, and my family was telling me, wow, this is my daughter. Acha, wo baat sunao, wo ye cheez sunao. You know, when your own people, when people closest to you start propagating your work and endorsing you, then you know you're on the right path to any profession. So anyways, so he said, oh, so you're going to talk? I said, yes. And he said, people will listen. I said, yes. And he said, and they will pay you also. I said, of course. But he couldn't digest it. For him, I was just a little girl, although I was 21 and I could pass off as 15 with my height and my form. So he said, now people are going to listen to you? I don't think so. Umar kitni hai tumhari? And I said, 22. I think I was 22 then. I'm very bad with numbers. So I might just even say 18 or 24. So you take an average of 22. So he said, how old are you? And I said, 22. And he said, maybe not. Why don't you go do a job and then let's talk after 10 years. And you know what? I did not get discouraged. It's so easy for people to get discouraged, disturbed and distracted. And you know, when that happens, when their back end, their homework, their preparation is not solid. If you have invested every single night 4 to 5 hours in reading, in building content, when you have seen the impact on your own life and the lives of people around you, nobody can sway you, nobody can discourage you. Boss, if you get discouraged, means your work only is not serving you, which means your work only hasn't done for you that you're promising me. Then go back and study more and be at a position where even if people say, tum baat karoge, shakal dekhi, and you say, haan, roz dekhta hu. Yeah, and this is the face I want to show 1 million people. So anyways, I took his point home. I looked into the mirror and I said, I look very young. So at that age, I got glasses, yeah, with the 0 number, just to look, you know, elder. Now I have glasses and I don't like it. It looks weird. So I have a lot of my pictures back there in the younger days. I don't have them handy. Yeah, so where I'm wearing glasses, I went and I bought business suits, yeah, to look sharp, to look like the CEO. And I called myself the CEO of Priya Kumar's training systems. That's my job. I have established an empire. Yeah, so I was a self-proclaimed startup. What does it take to be a motivational speaker? I'd seen the pictures of all these guys around, and by the way, there were no women then. So I got this nice suit and all stitched and beautiful boots and put a lot of money there. And for a 21, 22-year-old woman, yeah, that's a lot to invest. And then I said, okay, now where are the clients? I have arrived, but nobody knows me. So what I did was I counted the money. All right, for 9 years that I was teaching tuitions, I had a huge savings account because all day I was working. I never had time to spend. Thank God for that. Otherwise, leave me with my income, I will spend it all. You know, somebody was asking me, what would you do if you knew you were going to die in a month? I said I would shop. I would take all my money and blow it up and, you know, shop and eat and visit every place that I had wanted to. I love to spend. That's my favorite pastime. So anyways, because I was so busy, I had no time to shop. I had no time to go out. I was doing batch after batch after batch, yeah, because it was fun. You know, it was not for the money, let me tell you that, because a woman, our natural instinct is to chill, is to go shopping, is to go eating. But I loved it so much that I said, okay, there are 20 more students who want to come, but there's no place. So, okay, one more hour, one more hour, one more hour. And that's how I had such a huge saving account. So I calculated all that money. Okay, at that time it was about 9 lakhs, which was huge. And I spent it all. So here's what I did. First, I invested in my clothes, in my look. That was important. In my hair. I would go for a seminar and I would go to the salon and do my hair well. That or kuch nahi, to at least I should look good. You know, they say, okay, all right, a decent looking person came. At least the aesthetics should be fine, if nothing else. And even till date, I say this, packaging is utmost important. Then what did I do? That time there was no website. There was no way. We didn't even have an email ID. So I needed a business address, and the address was of my garage, where there were books, there were boxes of books and one table and chair. That's the address I had on my business card. But I ensured telling people that if somebody would say, can I come and meet you in your office? So I would say, you know, today or that day, let's say the person said, can I come and meet you in your office on Wednesday? And I said, on Wednesday I'm in Bandra. Would you be able to come there? We could meet at the Taj. So nobody came and visited me in my garage office. It was just for postal purposes. Okay, now we didn't have a website. So how do you promote yourself? So I made these catalogs made. So I did a photo shoot. Okay, and now look, all of this is costing money. I never took a buck from my parents because I had a bank. Now, while somebody would say, let's buy a house or let's buy other securities, I invested that in my life, and thank God for that. And you know, when it's your money you put on the line, my God, your attitude about your work is going to be very different than borrowing money from my parents and friends and wherever it is that they get it from. So I got a photographer and I did these amazing I say, but silliest photo shoots. Ab pata hi nahi kaise karna hai. So, you know, I knew Shah Rukh Khan, I love Shah Rukh Khan, so I did one picture like this. I have a brochure, a catalog, where on top it says in search of excellence, and I am standing like that, and the photographer took it from down, so it was to the sky. I'm wearing this brown suit with an orange scarf and my hair flowing in the breeze. This is a corporate speaker. I don't even know how to do it, but it worked. I'll tell you why it worked, because nobody else was making it. So versus somebody else would come and say, oh, I'm a motivational speaker, and Priya Kumar and saying, I'm a motivational speaker, here's my brochure. I have a bigger, better chance of getting through, because he cannot, the HR manager or the learning and development manager cannot represent somebody who left. Even when I leave, at least my brochure sticks. And it was a big investment at that time to think of modules. Now, if you make a brochure, you are going to put modules. Now, mind you, I had never attended workshops, I had never gone for trainings, but I made common sense modules. I tested it out with my students. I had a bunch of students, and then with the students I would tell them, hey, your parents are part of Rotary Club and Lions Club, can I do a workshop there? And the parents would say, yeah, come, because A, the children were in my hands. I was the tuition teacher, so you can't really put off the tuition teacher. So they would call me to the Rotary Clubs, to the Lion Clubs, and to other communities where I got a practice of testing my content. And I also had pictures. So if I would write a personality development workshop, I had pictures. There were 200 people. Actually, it was the Rotary people who came for free, but how do you know that? Then I would have testimonials, and my students' parents gave testimonials. So I had a very nice fancy brochure, but it cost a lot of money. And within 6 months, from 9 lakhs, I was down to less than half. Then at that time, you needed to have, as a motivational speaker, your own setup for workshops. Okay, that time corporate workshops were not so popular. What was popular was people come and attend your workshops. अब वो जगह कहाँ से लाएंगे? The hotels were too expensive, so I rented this apartment. I thought, instead of taking banquet spaces, let me rent an apartment, and that now became my office. Now see, renting the apartment was an easier thing, but to furnish it, to get the chairs, to get the tables, to get a big whiteboard, to get now somebody as a secretary, to have my own cabin, that was expensive. And within 6 months, my 9 lakhs was gone. It was flat out zero, to the point that I could no longer afford the secretary, because it was taking time to establish. See, 9 lakhs was my investment, and my return per week was 7,000 rupees. Now do the math, okay? But itna na socha nahi. I told you I was weak in maths, and that was my biggest blessing, that I was just not able to understand the numbers. I was just purely excited. I wanted everybody to know the content that I had and change my life. There were people who would come and tell me, Priya, I want to be like you. And I say, I want to tell you how. Come for my workshop or go and read these books. And you know what? People are lazy. They don't read. They don't want to invest time in themselves. They just want you to tell them the 6 bullet points. Now, the 6 bullet points that I tell you in my seminar took me perhaps 6 weeks to incorporate. So I had this lovely office, okay, and work was slow. Then, by the way, I found out how do you disseminate. So I started to advertise in Times of India and Economic Times. So I would put these ads, I would go to the advertising agency, tell them to make a nice ad and to put it. So people started to come for my workshops because there was this whole promotion going around. I invested money in that, and by now I am running so low that I do not have money to pay my assistant, who I said, okay, please leave because I cannot afford to pay you a salary. So I became my assistant. My pen name, my assistant name was Jennifer. So what I used to do is, I used to call up the HR manager and say, hello, this is Jennifer. I'm calling from Priya Kumar's office. She would like to meet you to present her workshops. And the person would say, oh yeah, you know, now luckily I grew up in an English medium school, and also because I was teaching French, my English accent is a little not an Indian accent. There is a little bit of international to it because I used to teach French. And they said, oh yeah, sure. And I would now fix the meeting for Miss Priya Kumar, and after the phone call I would become Miss Priya Kumar and I would go for the meeting. I still remember I went for a meeting with a very important person from Reserve Bank of India, and I walk into his cabin. The secretary takes me in and he starts talking to me, and I said, nice to meet you, and we are having a chat for 10 minutes. Then he tells me, when is Priya coming? I'm like, I am her. So he's like, oh, I thought you were Jennifer. You sound so much like her. I said, I know, she copies, you know, I mean, she's mentoring under me, so it's perhaps similar. So it was like that. People used to get confused. When I would go and meet them, they'd say, your secretary sounds a lot like you. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Even though I don't do that anymore, if you call my office, people start arguing with my team. They say, no, you are Priya, you're lying. I've heard your voice. I think it's proximity that that brings that kind of similarity. You know, you say when people work together, live together, they start looking similar. Well, my team, they look like me, they speak like me. So it was tough. I remember I used to do workshops at Indo-American Society, okay, and I used to do 2 batches, one in the morning, one in the evening. I used to leave my house at 6 o'clock and come back at 9 o'clock, and for the entire week I used to get paid anywhere between 7,500 to 10,000 rupees back then, which was like peanuts. I mean, you don't know how much investment I have to make. That money was only going to pay my rent. And you know what? I could never turn around and tell my parents or tell other people, oh, ये तो ठीक नहीं चल रहा, I don't have money and so on, because they would tell me, I told you so, you are stupid, तुम्हें ये सब करना है, क्यों करना है, कभी जॉब किया है तुम्हें, do you even know how to handle money, do you know how to handle finances, it's a joke, look at those people, look at that. So I had to shut up because I took this step on my own. And I remember I had no money one time, and by no money I mean no money, zero money. I would open my wallet and I would look for those 1 rupee coins, 25 paisa coins. Ab to banate bhi nahi 4 आना. I used to look for that. I used to sometimes hunt under the mat of my car or in these little nooks and corners कि कहीं पैसे मिल जाएंगे. At that time, 23 odd years ago, I had become so thin because I didn't even have money to eat. You know, so when people are that thin, I know, okay, maybe bad financial times, and when people grow fatter, good financial times. So it's good financial times for me. I'm 10 kilos heavier. So anyways, at that time I didn't even have money to eat. I used to stop by this BST place. I live in Andheri. I used to live in Andheri as well. So on the drive, now the car was important for the impression, so I didn't sell the car, but I used to drive, and there was this BST Jhunka Bhakar it's called, where all the BST drivers stand and have chai and bhajia. Bhajia is onion pakoras, okay? So I would go there because I didn't have money, and they would give it at 7 rupees a plate, where you would get onion bhajias and you would get a cup of chai. That was the first time in my life that I started to drink tea, a habit that I still have. So I used to park my car, get out at the Jhunka Bakar, and all these BST drivers, when they're not driving, they take off their shirts and banyans, and they would see me walk out wearing a nice fancy suit. अब वो तो पहले investment कर लिया था, right? So I already had that base with me. Nice shoes, and you know, I had a blue Santro. Get off the car, and all these people would start buttoning up their shirts. They're, oh my God, we have I don't know who coming to our Jhunka Bakar. This young woman coming and eating, and I used to eat my daily dose of 1 pav with bhajia and a cup of chai for 7 rupees the whole day. There was no other meal that I could afford. And yet when you would meet me, I would tell you that I'm the best fit to motivate your people. Okay, it was a bad time, but you know what? I had read hundreds of stories of people who had hit a bad time, who had hit rock bottom. And you know what? When they had hit rock bottom, their success was a meteoric rise. And I knew it. I was happy being in that space because now I knew what they were going through. And now was a test. Does this really work? And it worked. And how? So back then, when I used to have meetings with HR people or other managers, they would say, yeah, come, let's meet for a coffee. And at that time, 23, 22 odd years ago, let's meet for a coffee meant let's meet at a 5-star coffee shop. There were no coffee shops like Baristas, Starbucks, and you know, now all these places that you have that you can hang out, it meant let's go to a 5-star. And look, if I'm calling you, let's meet for a coffee, and I'm going to give you business, then it's an understood that you're going to pay the bill. You know, these are things you learn the hard way. अभी कहाँ से bill देंगे? मेरे पास तो खुद ही पैसे नहीं है. You know, I used to save money for my business. I had stopped eating. So I remember I used to go to a coffee shop. So let's say it was the Taj, and you're meeting me at 4 o'clock. I would go there at 3 o'clock and sit. Okay, now when you come in and you would, I would meet you, and then you'd say, what will you have? I'll say, I had another meeting before you. I just had coffee. I just ate. What does that mean? Look, if I'm not going to eat anything, why am I going to pay? I never ate anything outside, but I was there. My money went for my fuel, and my money went for my morning, that bhajia pav and a cup of chai. That's what I survived on for almost a year and a half. There reached a time where I had to start selling all the chairs of my office because I had no money. I counted how much jewelry I had, and it was almost nothing. You know, when people would tell me, let me gift you jewelry for your birthday, and you know, when I won something and so on, and I would say, no, I don't like gold. My God, I knew the value of gold when I was suffering. I wished I had taken all of that gold. So I sold everything I had, including the chairs, including the tables, including the sofa, all those things that I had tastefully bought. I couldn't even afford to keep them. So मेरा तो पूरा office खाली हो गया within a year. Alright, and it reached a point where I now had to sell my car because I didn't have the money. Now I had the option to go and tell people, please give me money, I'm suffering. But you know what? They had already told me, don't do it. And they all were watching, ye karegi kaise? How is it a person who's never done a job, never done a corporate job, is going to go and motivate people to do a great job? Well, they didn't know this. I was working, and since when is teaching not a job? Just because I was not at the working age, just because I was teaching from home, doesn't mean that I was not professional. And I had content with me, so much content that I could speak for days at a stretch and challenge even the CEO of a 20-year-old company. You talk, you tell about your experiences. So I didn't tell anybody, and it took almost 2 years of financial suffering to turn that around. I remember I used to sit in my office alone. कुछ है ही नहीं, काम भी नहीं है. I would sit alone on boxes, and I would be listening to tapes, and I would be making notes. And you know, the beautiful part was that every single person that I followed had been hit so bad that everyone around them were convinced that he or she will never make it. And I felt good because I was at that exact place, and now was my platform to bounce back. I remember I was at Marine Drive once, and I am not a very God-fearing person. I like to do God work. Yeah, so I'm not the first person to go and pray and go to temples, but I'm the first to volunteer to help, to do His work. That's what I feel. So these two hands are God's hands, that I would ask, if God was in this place, what would He expect me to do? Is to do something with my hands, to say something nice. So that's my little relationship with God. And that was after a very, very long time. I folded my hands and told the God, please help me. I'm the last person to pray and say help me. So I said, please help me. If you are there, if you exist, now is the time to prove it. Yeah, and guess what happened? My little Nokia phone rang, and it was from a HR manager, and he had called to tell me, Priya, I know it's a little late in the day, but next week we need you for a workshop. Do you think you could make it work? And our budgets are not very high. So I told him, sir, look, my general rates are 12,500, but I'm willing to make the exception, and I will make it 8,000 for you. He said, brilliant, splendid, it's a done. I hung up the call. I looked up into the sky and I said, God, you exist. This is so amazing. I was so happy, and I said, oh, I should pray more often. It was that simple. You make one prayer and the phone rings. And while I was so excited, I come and sit back in the car, the phone rings again. And the HR manager said, oh, you know, we just canceled that program, so sorry about it, but we'll call you whenever we fix it again. So that was my little financial crisis relationship, but I never blamed God. Yeah, as much as, you know, we look up to Him to help, there are situations He wants us to go through. There are situations which are utmost necessary so that we stay humble, so that we stay real, so that we stay true. That, you know what, when you speak to the guy sitting there, and if you can match his misery, if you can match his suffering, and if you can match his lowest point, you are the best motivational speaker that he needs, because you are an example of the rise, even if it is just 2 steps above yet. Yes, one day you'll get here, but at least you made 2, and you can encourage him. You know what it takes. You know what it is to be hungry. You know what it is when you're so hungry and your stomach is growling, and you speak louder just at that minute so he can't hear it while he's eating cake and tea right in front of you. It takes a lot, and you are smiling there and telling him, I can help you. I can help your people. It's incidental I haven't eaten right now. It's incidental that I'm sitting in the Taj right now. Don't worry. I will get the job done. Why? Because my content, my faith in what I have to give is bigger than my hunger. So it was a really tough time. The turnaround, like I said, took about 2 years, and in these 2 years I didn't have a lot of work, but I invested the time in study and study and study and study and study. My ears always had that headphone and that Walkman. The tapes were always in my car. I had just one music tape, that's about it, which one of my friends had made for me. All other tapes were all work related, my work related. And like I said, I lived in Andheri. I would go to town, I would go to South Bombay every single day by 8 o'clock. The offices would open by 9 or 10, okay, because in the morning I would eat that bhajia pav and chai and go to town, and there I would go to all these office buildings, the maker chambers and so on. Up though the whole office hubs have shifted, much closer. That time, if you wanted to do business, if you had to meet any corporate house, it was 1.5 hour drive to South Bombay. So I would go there and I would tip the watchman 2 rupees. That was a lot of money then. 2 rupees just to go up and down the building and write the names of all the offices. And those people were so amused, the watchman was so amused that this girl comes dressed in suit, boot, then she gives us money. I mean, people with her get up should have 6 assistants. And I would go making notes of offices, and then I would enter an office, speak to the receptionist, leave my card and my brochure and say, if the HR manager is free, I would like to have a word. And that is what I used to do from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock every single day. There is not an office in South Bombay that I have not been to and I have not covered personally. Yeah, and then in the second round I would go and check with the receptionist, did you give the brochure to the HR manager? And I would get calls. My mobile number was there. It was a huge investment of time and it took a lot of humility to go and do that, but people encouraged. We think कि मेरा impression खराब हो जाएगा. People are very encouraging of people who work hard, people who are sincere, people who will go and roll up their sleeves and take to the road to get the job done. Now it is much easier. You have so many platforms where you can talk to clients, you can put the word out. You don't even need to make brochures anymore. You just need to have a great website. But I'm very lucky and fortunate that I started at a time when this was not available. You know why? Because the competition at that time was negligible. I was the only woman motivational speaker standing then, and at the position that I am today, I'm the only one standing now. It was tough, and therefore it just didn't need grit, it also needed passion. And where did that passion come from? From the content behind me. That was my driving force. You cannot have the cure for cancer and sit in your house. You cannot have the formula for success that will get you out of any adversity which has gotten you out of adversity and misery and watch another person. You can't do it. Even if they don't pay you, you will go and help. And that's the true test of a motivational speaker. And that was my power. That was my driving force. Today, it's a whole load easy. Everybody wants to become a motivational speaker, and now you have so much competition. That's why I say you should have started 23 years ago. Now, what I have done is I have put a little program together. Although I didn't need a YouTube channel back then, but you need it today. I started a year and a half ago, but I'm still sorted. Even if I don't have a YouTube channel ever, I am sorted for life as a motivational speaker, because my work today in corporates does not need introduction. I have been around for too long, and like I have told you, I have more people reaching me than I can service. It's not possible. But you, my friend, you need that YouTube channel. Okay, you need that website. I didn't need it. My brochure was an every corporate house. There is not one person who I did not meet, shake hands with and say, I'm Priya Kumar, I'm a motivational speaker and I'd like to come and talk to your audiences. My pitch was very high. You see, when you're dressed sharper than the guy next to you, you can sell your services for 7,000. वो तो और लोग ले रहे हैं ना. My price was 12,500. That was huge at that time, 12,500. The going price was 3, 4, 5, 8 was maximum, and these are people who had been around, and I was here saying 12,500. Why? Because I had a car, I was wearing a suit better than yours, and I had information that I could talk on any subject. That was my distinguishing factor. Now, will people pay? People will pay if they can see that in you. So I put this program together where I will help you build a profile. Now, there is a criteria, there is a condition. My condition is you already have your content, you already are a great speaker, you already are a great orator, you're a great communicator, and you have done the study. If you are there now to the position of launch, I can help you. I have made a special program where I help you make a great profile, where I help you build your website, where I help you structure your content, where I help you with workshop delivery, where I help you strategically how to build your client base and how to promote yourself and pitch your pricing. The entire package I have for you. If you so wish, you can join in the program. This is a start. It's a 3-month setup. You can review it here. I have put the link below in the comments, and that is my little way of helping you. That's the best that I can do. See, a communications program, a program on oration, a program on public speaking is a live one where you need to attend my workshop, and I can help you with that. But that launch is a very standard formula. A formula I didn't have to use, but a formula that has become compulsory today. I can tell you the tricks of the trade which will help you turn your professional career as a motivational speaker around in 6 months to 1 year. And don't worry if you feel that you're not very good with English or you're not very good with diction. It can always be built upon. See, I came from North India, from Chandigarh, and my diction today has a North Indian accent to it. So when I start talking, people say, you're from the North, they can tell. But that was not a deterrent. There are so many times I bungle up, I will jumble up the words. I definitely will jumble up the numbers. But no one came and said, hey, your talking is not good. When the message is loud and clear, when your sincerity to help comes before your own diction, the job is done. Don't be afraid. And these are skills you build upon as you go. These are not, you can't just wait that pehle ye sab ho jaye, then I will go. Build upon it. And you know what? Even a sincere person can get away with bad diction and bad oratory skills as long as you from the heart want to give this forward and help. So don't hold back. I would say go ahead and conquer. I had it very difficult, but it was a fun ride. It was when I was alive the most. I was thinking all the time. It took away all fear from me, that I have no fear of going back to zero, because I know how to make it back from there. Even if I had switched careers, even if I had left, I had never worked again, I knew how to come back. And if you become a person who cannot be destroyed, who cannot be defeated, who cannot be shaken up, my God, your career has served you. And that is the true test of a person's profession. Who did you become as a result of something that you put your life into? Everybody should be a motivational speaker, and you will be unbeatable, undestroyed. And if you get it right and build a great legacy, you will also be immortal. Now, in my next program, I'm going to talk about how to expand your motivational career and become a writer. Now, the motivational episode technically ends here. I might just do a few more videos on it, like I promised in the last ones, how to make a great YouTube channel, how to write blogs, how to promote yourself. But if you're really serious on setting up a legacy, and so many of you have started emailing me and WhatsApping me, the best that I can do is to allow you a professional setup, a professional periphery where I can help you launch your career. So if that is what you want to do, if that is what your calling is, is. And if you have been looking for the right program and the right platform, join in. The link is in the comments below. I hope this helped. There is so much more to tell. There are so many stories of my first ever motivational workshop, of the first time I got paid, my first ever flop speaking show. Oh, there are so many stories. I'll leave that for another episode. This has gone on too long, but thank you. If you have reached here, thank you for listening. I'm humbled, and please know that I'm committed to helping you and I'm rooting for you. Yeah, so stay connected. Until next Wednesday,